The most seductive lie we tell ourselves is the lie of the unlived life. We sit in the quiet ruins of our Tuesday evenings, staring at the wall, and we play the movie of our past in reverse. We pause at the crossroads. We look at the lover we left, and the job we quit, and the city we moved away from, and we whisper to ourselves, if only. If only I had turned left instead of right. If only I had been braver. If only I could go back to the starting line with what I know now, I would build a paradise. But I am here to tell you that this is a fantasy that poisons your present. I am here to tell you the hard and liberating truth, which is that if you could reset the clock and live it all again, you would not necessarily be happier. In fact, you might be more miserable, because you are forgetting the one constant variable in every equation of your life. That variable is you. You cannot escape your own shadow by changing the scenery. Let us imagine for a moment that the universe grants your wish. Let us imagine the great hand of fate descends and rewinds the tape. You are 20 years old again. Your skin is smooth, and your knees do not ache, and the road ahead is a blank map. But here is the question you must answer. Do you go back as you are now, or do you go back as you were then? If you go back as you were, then with the same ignorance and the same fears and the same insecurities, you will make the exact same mistakes. You will marry the same person for the same wrong reasons. You will take the same safe job because you are afraid of the risk. You will hurt the same friends because you haven't learned yet how to control your temper. The script is written in the ink of your character, and unless your character changes, the plot remains the same. You are destined to walk in circles because the circle is inside you. But perhaps you say, "No, I want to go back with the wisdom I have now. I want to take my 50-year-old mind and put it in my 20-year-old body." This is the common dream, to have the energy of youth and the sagacity of age. But consider the tragedy of that existence. If you went back now knowing what you know, you would be a stranger in your own timeline. You would look at your young friends with their trivial dramas and their foolish optimism, and you would feel no connection to them. You would be bored. You would be isolated by your own foresight. You would avoid the heartbreak, yes, but by avoiding the heartbreak, you would also avoid the growth that came from it. Think about the scar on your heart that came from that divorce or that failure. It hurt. It nearly killed you. But it also made you deep. It made you empathetic. It made you the person who can sit here today and understand complex truths. If you go back and sidestep that pain, you do not become a better version of yourself. You become a shallow version of yourself. You become a ghost haunting a life that has no weight because it has no consequence. We romanticize the path not taken because we only see the highlight reel of that alternative reality. We imagine the other job would have made us rich, but we do not see the stress that would have given us a heart attack at 40. We imagine the other partner would have made us happy, but we do not see the lonely nights or the quiet resentments that would have grown in that house too. In our fantasy, the grass is not just greener, it is perfect. It never needs mowing. But in reality, every lawn has weeds. Every path has mud. If you had chosen the other road, you would simply be trading one set of sufferings for another set of sufferings. You would not be trading hell for heaven. You would be trading the headache for the stomachache. This is the nature of existence. Suffering is not a bug in the system. It is the feature. It is the friction that polishes the stone. Let me tell you a story about a man named Julian who spent his entire life grieving a decision he made in 1995. He had a chance to move to Paris to study art, but he stayed in his small town to take over his father's hardware store. He spent 40 years selling hammers and nails, muttering to himself that he was meant to be a painter. He hated the smell of sawdust. He hated the customers. He lived in the past. He treated his wife with coldness because she was part of the life he settled for, not the life he wanted. He died an old man filled with bitterness. But here is the truth that Julian never understood. If he had gone to Paris, he might have failed. he might have realized he had no talent. He might have starved. Or perhaps he would have succeeded and become a famous artist only to find that fame is a lonely cage and that the art world is filled with vipers. He compared his actual boring safety with an imaginary glorious success. He stacked the deck against himself. He did not realize that the hardware store offered its own kind of beauty. The beauty of service. The beauty of stability. The beauty of community. He missed the life he was living because he was too busy watching the movie of the life he didn't live. We often think that happiness is a matter of geography or circumstance. We think if I were there, I would be happy. But happiness is a matter of digestion. It is how you digest the events of your life. If you have a sick stomach, you will feel pain whether you eat bread or whether you eat caviar. If your soul is restless, you will be unhappy in a mansion, and you will be unhappy in a shack. The problem is not the choices you made. The problem is your refusal to make peace with those choices. When you reject your current reality, you are rejecting the only thing that is real. You are arguing with the universe, and the universe always wins. There is a concept I want you to consider called Amor Fati. It means the love of fate. It does not mean just bearing your burden. It means loving it. It means looking at your life with all its wrong turns, and its missed opportunities, and its tragic accidents, and saying, this is exactly what was needed. This is the masterpiece. Because if you pull one thread from the tapestry, the whole image unravels. If you go back and save your younger self from that car accident, maybe you never meet the nurse who became your best friend. If you go back and take the job on Wall Street, maybe you never have the time to read the books that saved your soul. The universe is a chaotic web of cause and effect, and you are not smart enough to know which threads are the good ones and which are the bad ones. You only think you know. Imagine you could go back and fix it. You fix the mistake. You get the girl. You get the money. And then 3 years later, tragedy strikes anyway. Because tragedy always strikes. What will you do then? Will you ask to go back again? Will you spend eternity hitting the reset button every time you feel pain? That is not life. That is a video game. And a life without the finality of consequence is meaningless. The beauty of your life comes from the fact that you cannot fix it. It is a one-time performance. There are no rehearsals. The cracked notes and the stumbled lines are part of the jazz. They are what make it yours. When you look back and say, I could have done better, you are being arrogant. You are assuming that you had the capacity to do better at that time. But you didn't. You did exactly what your state of consciousness allowed you to do. You were doing your best, even if your best was messy. Forgive that younger version of yourself. They were walking in the dark. They didn't have the flashlight you have now. Do not punish them for stumbling. And do not delude yourself into thinking that a different choice would have led to a permanent state of bliss. The human mind is designed to adapt. If you won the lottery tomorrow, within a year, your happiness levels would return to their baseline. If you lost your leg tomorrow within a year, your happiness levels would likely return to their baseline. You carry your baseline with you. It is the thermostat of your soul. If you want to change your life, do not wish for a time machine. Change the thermostat. The desire to start over is actually a desire to escape the responsibility of the now. It is easier to dream of a parallel universe than to do the dishes in this one. It is easier to fantasize about the perfect marriage you could have had than to work on the difficult marriage you actually have. The fantasy is a drug. It numbs you to the work that is right in front of your face. But the work is where the joy is. The joy is not in the outcome. The joy is in the struggle. The joy is in the redemption. Think of the strongest steel. It is forged in the hottest fire and beaten by the heaviest hammer. If the steel could talk, it might say, I wish I could go back to being raw iron in the ground where it was cool and quiet. But if it went back, it would just be dirt. It is the fire that gave it value. Your regrets, your traumas, your mistakes, these are the fire. You are the steel. Do not wish to be dirt again. Stand tall in your form. Look at your scars and see them as gold. They are the map of your survival. If you wiped the slate clean, you would lose your depth. You would lose your humor, which is usually born of tragedy. You would lose your compassion, which is born of suffering. You would be a blank sheet of paper white and perfect and empty. Who wants to read a blank book? Your life is interesting precisely because it went wrong. The twists in the plot are what make it a story worth telling. So I say to you, stop looking over your shoulder. The past is a country you can never visit again. The borders are closed. And the future is a country that has not yet been discovered. You only have this small strip of land called the present. Plant your garden here, even if the soil is rocky. Even if it has rained for 40 days. Plant here. If you are unhappy, change your perception. Change your action. But do not blame the timeline. There is no better life than this one, because this is the only one that exists. The other lives are ghosts. They are smoke. Do not trade your solid reality for smoke. Embrace the mess. Embrace the confusion. Embrace the fact that you didn't know what you were doing. No one knows what they are doing. We are all just children stumbling in the dark, trying to find a hand to hold. You are exactly where you need to be. The confusion you feel is the prelude to clarity. The pain you feel is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. If you went back, you would just have to break the shell again. Why do the work twice? You are already here. You have already survived the hardest parts. Why go back to the start of the maze when you are closer to the exit than you think? Take a deep breath. Look at your hands. These are the hands that made the mistakes. And these are the hands that can build the redemption. You do not need a second chance. You need to take the first chance seriously. This is it. This breath. This moment. This is the start over. You don't need a time machine. You just need to open your eyes. The life you are looking for is not in the past. It is hiding underneath the fear you are feeling right now. Let go of the ghost of the person you could have been. That person does not exist. He is a phantom who comes to steal your joy. Banish him. Hug the person you are. The flawed, broken, beautiful person who is still standing. That is the hero of the story. Not the one who made no mistakes, but the one who kept walking after making them. Walk on. The road is only going forward. And the view, I promise you, is better than you think.